Hello everyone, welcome to Homestead for a Living. I am not at my homestead. I am at the beautiful Permapastures farm here in North Carolina with Billy. And always a privilege to come out here. I say always, but we've only actually been out here one time.
Twice.
Twice. It was twice, yeah, because we did the second
video. This will make number 3.
This will make number 3. So the first time was back in 2020. I was looking through our old messages, and it was in that wild time when the world seemed to be falling apart at a slightly different pace than right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such an inspiring time for us, and I didn't realize quite what this relationship would evolve into. Billy was instrumental in helping us get the Back to Land Festival going. A big inspiration. Their content's been a big inspiration for us. We sit back and learn everything from composting that William does. He's behind the camera, you can't see him. To the many different ways of working in an environment that's very similar to ours. Basically, this is just a little steeper than where we're at.
Oh, yeah, there is that.
But about last year when we were at the last Back to Land Festival, Billy and I were chatting behind some of the tents, and you mentioned something about writing a book, and you had a topic that you were talking about, and a really great title, which I won't say because you'll probably write that still. And I had also an idea in mind, and we talked, and they were very similar and kind of the same, just slightly different angles on the same idea, which was talking about how we've been able to start our homesteads and start becoming self-sufficient. Not just in terms of food and growing medicine, but also financially self-sufficient, moving in that direction due to homesteading, but that we started it with virtually no resources. Billy, much like me, when he started his homesteading journey, had very little and a burgeoning family, and for Billy it was around 2008 is when the real impetus kicked in. For me it was 2020 was my big wake-up call. And so as we were talking, we decided we wanted to write a resource for anybody who wanted to either start homesteading or really get serious about self-sufficiency, even if they didn't have a budget for it. Whether they're starting with a little bit of savings, or absolutely nothing, living in a car and homeless, or an experienced homesteader that wants to expand. We wanted to create a resource that anybody from any starting point could take and learn how to grow their homestead and grow food and build infrastructure without resources. And so we wrote a book that became called Scrapsteading. We tossed a lot of titles back and forth, but that one was the one that really made sense, because that's what we're talking about, is taking the scraps of society, the leftover food out of our industrial system, out of hotels, from restaurants, from universities, food banks, redirecting that into our homestead systems and replacing having to buy grain, or sourcing the things that we use for mulch and compost, the wood chips and sawdust, and talking about where we acquire those and how we acquire those, and kind of the techniques. That's one thing Billy's really that I've been learning from him. He's a better people person than I, and so I've been learning. He talks specifically in the book. How do you approach people? How do you and I've been learning alongside as we worked on this together. Do you bring a gift from your farm? What should you bring? Should you bring something really personal, like honey is one you use? So those little tips and tricks that are so important, and they've been working for me, by the way. I've been implementing those, and I finally got my first wood chip drop off after many years of trying. So we talk about that kind of thing. We talk about how to find building materials for free or really cheap, scrap building materials, and then how to utilize them, how to build greenhouses, trellises, composting systems, outbuildings, livestock structures, all of this stuff. So that's the gist of the book. I feel like I'm doing all the talking, so do you want to mention any more?
No, I think what's important also to point out in this book is that it's elegant, it's concise and simple, and it's really something to whet the beak of that person or those people out there who are just either starting to get on this journey or thinking about it and don't yet know the full extent of what is available to you that you don't have to pay for. And the fact that it can be done really in a concise and simple way within 100 pages is unusual, because most people are thinking, oh shoot, I got to read a book that thick just to get this information. The idea of this book is to convey this information, whet your beak enough. It's not going to be exhaustive in any one thing, but it's to the point where you should be able to say, that makes sense to me, or you know what, I could tweak this a little bit based on my circumstances, and I can make it work better for me. So that's exactly what is intended for this book, is to make it a quick read, an interesting read, tell you a little bit about us and where we came from. But I think one of the most beautiful places is that we're converging to the same place from very different starting points. And I think that would be helpful to anybody out there that's considering this lifestyle. And record numbers are right now. Record numbers are getting into this homestead space. And so we're trying to get you to not make the same mistakes that we made
Yeah.
starting off, to where you could not get out in front of your skis and fall over at a time where we have fewer resources than ever in terms of our monetary resources. Because as the inflation's going up, people have less to spend, so you want to make sure that what you do spend is worthwhile and is going to actually enhance your homestead instead of following 10 different rabbit trails. That's what this book is designed to do, is to give you at least a good starting point, or if you've already started, a way to maybe redirect your steps into someplace that's going to work out well for you.
Ideally, kind of shaving off those first 2 to 3 years that we spent
Right.
really learning the road, like bringing
Right.
all of our hard knock mistakes and saying here's the way to really efficiently do it. And as Billy mentioned, we kept it really concise. It's about 100 pages, very to the point. And then we actually include a lot of resources in the books that point to more of the specifics. So if we're talking about compost in the book, then we point to several video learning links and different
Right.
resources on like how do you actually build out the system. So that way, all of the tools are within the book. So it's got the description of how to do things, and then when you really want to get into the nitty gritty, there's lots of different resources we pointed to from great content creators and authors and pioneers in the permaculture and homesteading spaces. So
That's also the beautiful thing of how they structured this book, because he and Gabby, mostly Gabby, instead of putting all this, making a magnum opus of a book that's 500 pages long, that nobody's ever going to read all the way through, where it's more like a reference guide, all the references to where you can find, let's say, our guide to 18-day compost making, where you can find that sort of thing, or the chicken tractor on steroids.
Yeah.
Instead of listing step by step by step, we have video aids in there where you can literally go there, check it out, and get a full extent of anything you need more guidance on. So it's really, really an awesome resource, not only in what's contained in the pages, but also where you need to go away from the pages to get more in-depth, detailed information on anything you want to know.
and that way I think we've kept it relevant because, like, for example, in the livestock stock section, we talk about kind of every kind of different way of feeding your livestock for free, or for really cheap. And so this way, it's like if this portion of the chapter is not relevant to you because you're not doing cattle, the one with chickens is, and then that's pointing to all the chicken resources.
That's right.
So I, without being egotistical, I think this book is something that just about anybody who wants to do homesteading or more homesteading will find useful, and really hopefully well worth the purchase, and something that they'll look back on as a pivotal moment in their journey.
It's been a joy to be a part of it. I mean it, y'all. To have a place where we could take our intellectual content and distill it down to where the most important elements are in there, and we're not holding anything back. And instead of using up pages and pages and pages to describe these things, we're saying, okay, at this point, if you want to know more, go watch it over here. You can see it in these videos. And I think that's really the concise nature of this book is, I think, one of the many things that makes it special.
So that's the pitch. That's what we've been up to. If you notice a bit of a lack of content on my channel, that's we've been swamped among other things, the normal homesteading things, but we've been really working hard on getting this up and running. So we're excited to release it. Gabby's got the website all built for it. It's scrapsteading.com, and it will be there available for purchase starting on August 14th. And I think that's all you need to know about it. So thank you, Billy, for having us out here at the property again. It's so exciting to see everything, all the trees twice as big as last time we were here, and
Oh,
1,000
man.
more of them.
It's a real joy to have y'all here, and then to see the baby running around, and Michelle's in there getting her little cuteness fixed. So yeah,
Practicing.
Practicing indeed. Yeah, you'll have to. Yeah, we'll talk more about that in another video. Maybe at one of these festivals. Who knows?
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing is if you want to get this book signed or something, Billy's going to be out and William will be out at the Back to Land Festival this year, which will be September 22nd through 24th, and that one's at backtolandfestival.com. So hopefully we'll see you there, or hopefully we'll kind of see you through the book. In the meantime, y'all stay safe, be well, and happy homesteading.